Star Trek Lower Decks, Season 5, Episode 6. Well, you could have just called it The Non-Tragedy of Quadrilon and Radiara in 3 acts. How Ridorbulous! Hey, it is Dr. Trek. Larry Nemecek coming at you here from the heart of Trekland and letting the dust settle just a bit on all the recent Trek headlines and fresh episodes. So instead of a quick take or a hot take, you get a second opinion from Dr. Trek. Hey, look, I have been writing, editing, interviewing, commenting, hosting, witnessing, connecting, and yes, fanning Star Trek for a while now. And I just want to say, I didn't know that my bingo card for the finale season of Lower Decks would have a sequel for Who Mourns for Adonis? Or Adonais? Or Adonias? I know, I'm shocked that Lower Decks didn't go all Gamato Magato with that one. So, of Gods and Angles, in which we learn that Apollo didn't exit with just a call out of memories. Oh no, the rest of the Olympians were hanging around out there and apparently still congregating with those less electrical mortal humanoids, including their ringleader, Zeus. Hey, that must be some genealogy project. Yeah. Gives a whole new meaning to spreading it on the wind. But be honest, how many of you out there didn't get the angles in the title and just went for angels? I know. I was on my 5th or 6th glimpse. I thought it was going to be a takeoff on some fan film. All right, our kudos this week? Well, start with the writer, Aaron Burdett. And yes, if you've heard that name before, aside from being co-executive producer for Season 4 last season, and then bumped up to executive producer this season. Also was the writer of note for Dos Cerritos to kick off this year, but also had wrote I Have No Bones and I Must Flee last season. It was kind of a famous one. And then our director this week, another familiar name, Brandon Williams. This is his 2nd year as a director on Lower Decks. He's had the 3rd, 6th, and 9th slot both seasons. And before that, he was a storyboard artist in those same slots since Season 2. And then before that, he had 21 episodes as a storyboard artist over on Solar Opposites, which is, Mike McMahon's other series. All right, big things, little things. Little thing. Now, Ensign Olly, our guest character here, comes to the Cerritos from the USS Reseda. Another Cali class, I guess. But it's crewed by reformed Maquis. So wow, yes, that is a tough ship. I mean, for one thing, not only are they the few survivors of the final Maquis faction-aside carried out by the Jem'Hadar during the Dominion War in the Alpha Quadrant, but hey, that was 9 years ago, and they're still being tracked that way. A little thing. What was the Cerritos doing with Worf's chair? Okay, the Tongo wheel, I can understand. But what, the chair, was it rescued from the Viridian 3 crash of the D? Okay. I guess those really popular replicator programs just get passed around a lot. A big thing, because since this episode premiered, I've seen fans out there. Oh, how silly. Come on. Spheres and cubes for alien life. Well, first of all, it's photonic. Duh. And in the sci-fi vein, look, I can see it as Lower Decks' answer to, I don't know, the improbability drive from Hitchhiker's Guide. I mean, in all the infinite diversity out there and all that infinite combination, why not? Oh, and the cubes and the orb's home nebulas are said to have collided a century ago, starting this whole war. And then we picked them up from their home in the Veriflex Nebula. So, does that mean that their original homes were the Vera Nebula? and the Flex Nebula? Sorry, I just had to say that so I could laugh at it. Well, that and photonics flexing out in the gym. Now that's the real shape war. Who knows? Next time, the aliens could all be fruits and vegetables. Looking at you, Lost in Space. And then they could all get into a food fight. Little thing. I think it's cool that Captain Freeman and the Cerritos crew mentioned their next higher authority as Admiral Vassery. Remember him from the season 4 finale? Yeah, it's like TOS Kirk would always mention the same admirals, like Admiral Comac. Little thing. Did you notice in the sickbay scene where Tendi is helping out with the blood samples? And she says, if they just had some Ferengi plasma, they'd have a whole rainbow. That's because, if you notice, there is no yellow there. Yes? And per Next Generation's The Price, Ferengi blood is, well, piss yellow. Okay, little thing that became a big thing. I'm talking about the whole Ronald B. Moore reference. Now look, you should know back in the day, Star Trek, weirdly, had both a Ronald D. Moore and a Ronald B. Moore on staff. Now, I was lucky enough to be there working on the Next Generation Companion, and I knew that the confusion fighting system in place was everybody just referred to Writer Ron or Effects Ron, their departments. And the first time I heard this episode was with my review screener, which doesn't always have the best audio. Well, I dropped my cookies, but I couldn't tell whether the reference was a B or a D. Okay, so shoot me. I should have known, but I was riffing through my mind going, I knew them. I could tell that Boynes was talking about some kind of stand-up comedy reference, but for the life of me, I was thinking, okay, now, Writer Ron, he had been in the Navy, and he'd been a waiter while he was a newbie writer. And Effects Ron, well, he could play electric guitar like nothing, as you Enterprise Blues Band fans know. But I never thought about either one of them with a connection to stand-up. And then, duh! I mean, it's so old, it's new. Way back, when I was the only one tracking a cootogram in jokes, I mean, because no one else was tracking anything, and you needed a forehead VCR on fast play to even have a prayer of reading them. If you even knew where to look. You're welcome, Jorg. Well, it was new at the time, but Mike Okuda just used the production staff's name list off the phone list for all those menu names that Data is scanning when he's trying to call up a historical holodeck recreation of a stand-up comic. Way back in season 2's The Outrageous O'Connor, remember? And he just happens to settle on Ronald B. Moore. Now, that's funny. I knew them. I'd met them by then. Ron is a funny guy, especially when he's talking tales of visual effects. And we just had him as our Portal 37 guest the very night on the eve of this thing airing. How weird is that? Yeah, Ronald B. Moore. Oh, but I have questions. Well, one, anyway. Look, we know Mariner has a brain for freeform trivia spouting, right? But is pulp Detective Dixon Hill really more popular in the 24th century than Sam Spade or Philip Marlowe or Mike Hammer? Or is he just popular because all the Picardophiles made him popular? Oh, favorite lines? What's wrong with Boimler? Just the usual stuff. Simple, complete, we know exactly where it's coming from. Oh, and did he smite? Cast and characters. Starting with all those alien visitors. Starting with Quadrillon, the missing offspring. Kicked all this into gear. And did you notice? They were very careful and specific and obvious, repeatedly, to use they pronouns for Quadrillon. But I guess, if there's ever a time to wonder about gender pronoun fluidity, it's with cubes and orbs, am I right? But did you notice? They are voiced by Jack Quaid, while the orb leader Spheronicus which, by the way, is a name we only get from the closed captions because it's not said on screen. That's Jerry O'Connell. And returning guest actor Carl Tart is not only Kayshawn once again, but he's Sexagus, the cube leader. Oh, and by the way, if you had that moment where you said, "To Lynn, finally," just know that Gabrielle Ruiz also voiced the bride of the evening, Radiana. I guess it's a bride. And then finally, cute little square Aaron. Yeah, the kid voice and the best Hanna-Barbera Warner Brothers tradition, like Scrappy-Doo, or even Foghorn Leghorn's little chicken hawk guy, is voiced by Roan K. Lai, who strangely only has lower decks on a very short resume, which begins with the first role. Are you ready? Oopsie.
Oopsie.
Now, back in our crew, hey, it's cool that we get to see Kazinti crewman Taylor again. Taylor? And for once, things are so bad, Livik is holding his own head. Oh, and look, it's Nurse Westlake. I was wondering where he'd gone. Now, he was named for the composer, Chris Westlake, right? But it's drawn as an homage to Dr. Crusher's Lieutenant Martinez on TNG, who was played as an unspeaking extra by the late Michael Braveheart. Always like to point that out. Oh, and there's Towel Guy again, finally. And yeah, I know he has a full name now, Hans Fedorov. But it's just not the same as saying Towel Guy, who apparently, like everyone else in that shot, did not get promoted to Lieutenant JG. It was cool to see the good old lower deckers bunk corridor again, huh? Oh, and Shaq's got a line. In fact, he got a whole scene. In fact, he got lines in 2 scenes, which is wild because Fred Taschereau, the actor, he also gets to voice 2 orbs, both Rondus, our naked and falsely accused orb, as well as Orbiculus. Now, as for our good Dr. Ta'ana, it was worth it to do without her for most of this season. To get that huge Boimler beat down, that was hysterical. And who could blame her? She has a book club in 2 universes. Ransom just gets the award for the best straight-faced drama crazy time sportscasting. Oh my God. I mean, all it was missing was, oh, the humanities. It's just a bigger orb and a bigger cube. They're not creative at all. And then we've got our guest star, Ensign Olly. Oh, look, she betrays this demigod status as a chaos agent right out of the gate, right? It's more of a quasi-human version of Peanut Hamper than a Q, I agree. But as far as I'm concerned, anyone who can spout, "But I can reconfigure the ship's tractor beam so it'll work on a photonic signature," is worth keeping in any color shirt. You betcha. Now, she is voiced and drawn closely to resemble actress Saba Homayun, who's best known for the Chad series. Hey, I thought for a minute there she was going to ascend the mountain and go get on the horn with the koala, much less spread herself on the winds. And then we get to Mariner. Well, first off, can we give props to her, first of all, for solving the mystery of the stolen computer and not being swayed by her Starfleet charge? I mean, think back. Mariner has really graduated from subversive icon out to help planet natives, prime directive or not, to really helping Starfleet misfits. In fact, Ensign Olly is now the Mariner of 5 or 6 or 10 years ago, minus the electric arcing, of course. And Mariner is not kidding about her sympathy with that brig vigil. Remember? We didn't see it, but she talks about being on the other side of that force field all the time back on the old USS Keto. So, that was fun. Yeah. Kind of like one of Picard's boringly ambassadorial missions, like the squabbling Pelier Zell moon natives, or even Freeman's dealing with the Mixtus 3 natives and their moon demolition. Only this time with solidified light. But even more, again, lower decks is sitting here checking off another line item on that 47 things unfinished across all 5 decades of Star Trek list. It's been carrying around in his back pocket. Sure, you laugh at the orbs and the cubes. Yeah, go ahead. I'm going to sit over here and laugh at how the laurels of the Olympians are actually cartilaginous appendages, I guess. I just think it's hilarious. Of course, it's a comedy about the very specific way that lightning bolt in Boim's bum was broken and then surgically retrieved. You know, 2 exactly perfect end parts with some crumbs in the middle. But then that's calm. The comedy goes crazy again, right down to Olly's madcap accidents and the electric zap careening with the carts. I mean, it all smacks of that same Looney Tunes vibe that was part of the Very Best Nanite Hotel, remember? Which happened to be director Brandon Williams' last episode here, right? I mean, Lower Decks is always manic, but to do it with zany action, again, it just seems like it's a second jab at this new tone to me this season. But most of all, don't forget, once again, we get no mention of that extra-dimensional event or artifact that's supposed to be part of the season-long arc, the mystery. Unless Boimler's call-out for Bearded Boimler and Altana and all of that was supposed to harken back to it. I mean, the photonics here were very much from our dimension, our galaxy. That's not it. Well, we've only got 4 more left to find it. 4 more left in the season. 4 more left in the series. Oh, one more thing. Olly refers to Zeus as her grandfather. And you know, Apollo was one of Zeus's sons. So, was Olly Apollo and Carolyn Palamas's child born 100 years ago? Because you know, in the original script of Who Mourns for Adonis, Palamas is said to be pregnant. And they filmed it. And then those timid 1967 NBC censors cut it. But hey, given demigod aging. Okay, well, maybe with that I should sign off on this second opinion. But what do you think? That's what I'm saying. How about you? Come on, leave a comment below, would you please? And while you're at it, like and subscribe and ring the bell and, you know, boost the signal. I dare you to subscribe for some Star Trek sanity. Plus, if you appreciate the Dr. Trek outlook and our whole Trekland philosophy here, our view, go over and check out all of our live experiences like Portal 47, the backstage package every month, and our Trekland Treks day tours around Southern California, the actual Star Trek outdoor location sites. That's there. Plus our live streams like Trekland Tuesdays live on Tuesdays, and of course our podcasts like the Trek Files from Roddenberry and Cadet Alice and Dr. Trek Watch Prodigy. All of that is there, plus our Patreon site, plus our Cameo store, plus our TeePublic store. It's all over at LarryNemecek.com. Would you go take a look? I'd appreciate it. And then we'll see you back here next week. Trek well, everybody.